out of it when people like Jars of Clay come to the Rise and Shine morning show. I was just lamenting to somebody a minute ago that yesterday we came to the Rise and Shine morning show and we had a pot of coffee, which we have every day. Today, Jars of Clay is booked on the show, and I see about 18 donuts, which there's 2 of them are here. Steve and Charlie of the band, right. So it's half the band.
Yeah.
For you guys,
half the band, twice the donuts.
They brought in 18 donuts.
I'm trying to kill you.
Let's see, you guys actually brought some food yourselves.
We did.
Some of Seattle's best coffee. The Moon Monkey coffee, which you may be able to hear in the background, is actually roasting here in our cafe studio.
Yes.
Am I missing anything? There's some scones. Yep. Oh,
scones ready.
Something's ready over there. The Moon Monkey bread. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't resent you guys or anything like that. It's just more of a. I'm glad you're here. I guess at least for those purposes.
Well, there's a fine line between resentment and
happiness, right?
Wait.
So I'll tell you what. When we go home, we're in our homes drinking our coffee.
Yeah.
There's no monkey bread and Dunkin' Donuts.
I was going to say, do you get this everywhere you go, or is it, so it might be the fact that we're both sort of important, I
We
guess.
put it in the rider, but it usually never happens.
Yeah.
I always wondered about that.
My wife never reads my rider.
Yeah, she never. Listen, I've been asking for the same thing.
Look, honey, I've been gone for a week. You know, monkey bread.
Yeah. Come on, let's get this moving.
It doesn't translate.
Let's get it going. So I want to tell you, Jars of Clay is, again, half of the band is here today. Charlie and Steve, and they've
I'd
got.
say that the more attractive, more
at least on the radio,
smarter half. Yeah.
I never really wanted to speak that out loud, but I actually think about that myself. Speaking of Jars of Clay being attractive, the last time you guys were in town, we saw you on stage. You were all dressed in white together, which
Music Builds.
Very nice. Yeah, the Music Builds tour. And then before that, I think one of my very first encounters talking about your band with somebody was a number of years ago, and I'm talking maybe 15 years ago or something like that. And it was my aunt of all people, who is not a music fan. Like she likes to listen to the the choral type music and things like that. But she had seen you guys, I guess, on the Dove Awards or something like that. And she said her actual exact words were, "I like those guys, but I just wish they'd wash their hair."
Yeah.
And, so did you ever go through a time in your band where you didn't wash your hair, or was that just her perspective?
We did have the worst haircuts in Christian music, they said.
We had some rough moves.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't remember not washing much.
No. In fact, we used to use that mane and tail, that horse shampoo.
Oh yeah.
I thought it would make your hair grow longer, quicker. Not so much.
No luck. I might just give it a little bit of a greasy look in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Upset my aunt a little bit. So. All right, I just wanted to check on her facts on that.
Yeah, no. We're pro shampoo.
Your new album, which is coming out in August, is called The Shelter, and it's all about this idea of kind of community and life together that we hear a lot about in churches these days. So you guys have been, obviously, a band traveling together for a long time, so you're kind of like your own built-in small group, where if you're in a small group, like you show up and it's a little bit awkward in the beginning, and then who knows where it's going to go. But that's kind of a long-running small group to be a part of for a number of years.
We spent 15 years making it a safe place. Basically,
didn't happen quickly.
And it's still, and we're still. It's funny, humankind, the way we work. We're still working on trusting each other. So that, unfortunately, never gets officially easy. But I think there's emotional and relational equity, we like to say, in walking through tough seasons, or surviving sadness, or experiencing great joy with each other. That makes the container safe to where we can feel like we can bring more of who we are to it.
Is that why you generally book your interviews now? Not with everybody, just because you don't trust everybody?
We won't talk to Dan.
I trust Charlie, that's a problem.
You just kind of meet on the recording day, and then there's a holograph of him on stage.
Exactly.
Well, I was going to say, 15 years, but it took us about 10 to really see the value and need of community.
Absolutely.
So it's not an old thing for us.
Well, certainly, and it's not a new thing either, because as we're hearing a lot about, like you said, small groups and just lots of community type things in churches these days. It may be kind of a buzz thing in church today, but nonetheless, it's not a real new idea either. That's kind of what it's been like since the beginning of the faith too.
Well, in fact, the shelter was inspired by this this quote, these old Irish words that say, "In the shelter of each other, the people live." And the Celtics, they were able to kind of keep away from the Romans and all that nastiness. So they have a really authentic kind of fascinating spirituality, and they got community in an interesting way that I think we don't experience. So that really inspired us to consider these abstract ways that we talk about God, and also have this kind of me and Jesus sort of engagements, and look around us and realize that everything that God gave to Jesus, He gave to us. So when we're praying for peace, when we're praying for healing, when we're struggling, the answers are most oftentimes found in the awkward and scary notion of submitting and telling my story to another human being. That's where all this stuff we abstractly talk about God is found, in each other, in community.
So the growth usually doesn't come from comfort,
or it can't. No, and also, I mean, my story growing up was one of if you take better sermon notes, if you pray more, if you wake up earlier and pray, then this. But that only manifested more frustration and more kind of helpless feeling, like, how come I'm not changing? How come I can't do this on my own? Because I can't do this on my own, is kind of what we learned. So yeah, it's kind of through submitting our story to other people and trusting the collective consciousness of a group of people that love and care for us, that we can make change.
We kind of had this anecdote while we were writing these songs early on. That what if we wrote some songs that we sung in church, but we kind of like sung them to each other in church as a congregation, as a body, and it wasn't so like I'm singing this song to God and I'm kind of doing me and God are doing this thing that I've got going on. What if we acknowledged sort of each other's roles in our lives and were maybe a little indicted to each other, because our stories connected and overlapped, and what is that? That's been important to us. So what does that look like as a church?
I think it's interesting that you guys have actually, in this record that's coming out in October, it's called The Shelter with Jars of Clay, who are with us today. It's about the shelter of being with each other and being in community. And so you actually decided to make the record in community. You've got lots of other artists on there singing along with you, and like you said, kind of singing to each other. So tell us kind of who you have on there and what that was like, kind of putting it all together.
Well, yeah, the process is pretty insular for us most of the time. When we write a record, it's
what does insular mean?
Insular, like
define that, spell it, use it in a sentence.
We don't allow any outside influence. Like it's very like Charlie, Dan, Matt, and I sit in a room, turn our chairs towards each other, and kind of find it,
carve it out.
And a part of that, which was thrilling for us, and we've done some co-writing over the years, but we opened up to like Laura Story, who's an amazing national writer, Thad Cockrell, Phil LaRue of LaRue, and other folks that we hadn't written with before, just to say we want other voices even in the writing process.
Yeah, it's not just about us.
Yeah.
And what if the record sounded like a group of people singing, about being in a group of people instead of just this is Jar's bandwagon right now. This is what we're saying from our platform. So it does have this sort of collective, at times congregational kind of vibe. And we pulled in some new artists, some of our favorite people around town, like Thad Cockrell. Audrey Assad is a new artist that we're excited about, and then we've got Toby Mac makes a guest appearance on a song, and Amy Grant.
New artist we're excited about.
Yeah, she shows much promise. Brandon Heath's on it.
He's a good singer and guitar player, that guy.
Yeah, he works on it.
Yeah, who else? Dave Crowder, Mike Donahue,
Sarah Groves,
Matt Maher.
Mac Powell.
Mac Powell, Derek Webb. There's one song that features Mac Powell, Derek Webb, and Burlap Cashmere.
Oh.
It's like a veritable song of lots of guys.
Seems like you should be charging a little more for this album because there's just so much good stuff on it.
Well,
so maybe you could,
well.
I don't know, maybe 25,
We're gonna
29.
let the public decide, and if they want to drop another dime on us, that'd be fun.
You got a little time. It comes out
Yeah, we're
October
trying.
5th. Yeah. Jars of Clay, the album is called The Shelter. We'll be back with them on Shine.fm.